Variable studios define variables in their own tab, so they can be used globally across the entire document in any part studio or assembly, as well as linked to other documents. Creating variables in a variable studio is very similar to using variable tables. New variables can be created and existing variables can be modified. To create a variable studio, click the Add New element in the bottom left to add a new tab to the document. Select Create Variable Studio. A variable studio opens, showing a table. New variables can then be added to the table, in the same manner as using a variable table in a part studio. When entering variables one after another, the Tab key on the keyboard moves to the next row of the table. By default, new variables are specified as length type, but the type of the variable can be changed by selecting a different type in the drop-down menu. Variables defined in the variable studio should have unique names. If an existing name is used, a message is displayed. Cannot override variable from the variable table. Variables from the variable studio are made available in all part studios and assemblies within the current document workspace by selecting the checkbox Insert into all part studios and assemblies. By deselecting this checkbox, the usage of the variables can be disabled in the document workspace. This is particularly helpful when working in a collaborative environment and the variables exist in a draft state. For example, a variable studio is used to drive dimensions within this document. Much like before, variables drive the length and width of the dining table. A different style of table is required, with the same dimensions for length and width. Since the variable studio is available in all part studios, the same variables are used to drive this design. The variable studio is also used in the assembly, allowing the number of chairs to be driven by the table length and width. A linear pattern is defined, and the instance count makes use of an expression to fit the correct number of chairs. Multiple variable studios can be added to the same document. Coming back to the previous table example, if the new table style requires slightly different dimensions, a new variable studio is created and unique values are defined for the respective variables. All variable studios contained within a document show in the Variable Table tab, in addition to any variable tables that may have been created in that part studio. If multiple tables are present and a variable name is duplicated in two or more tables, the lowest table in the Variable Table tab takes precedence. Other duplicate variables show an icon indicating that the variable has been overwritten in another variable table. You may wish to drive multiple documents with a variable studio. In doing so, the variables may require a different workflow or approval process than the document in which they're being utilized. Maintaining the variable studio in a separate document allows finer access control, as well as independent workflow or revision management. To insert an existing variable studio into another document, expand the Variable Table tab and click the arrow next to the Create Variable Studio button. Select Insert Variable Studio. Variable studios can also be inserted within a Variable Studio tab. Variable studios can either be inserted from the current document or from other documents. The entire variable studio can be inserted, or one or more individual variables can be selected for insertion. For our example, another document exists for the dining table chairs. We wish to reuse variables that drive the table dimensions in the chair document as well, so a variable studio is inserted from the table document. When inserting a variable studio from another document, a version of that document is referenced, just like any other linked document workflow. The variable studio must exist in that version to reference it. Much like other linked objects, the variable studio shows a link icon to the right of the variable studio name, along with the version name. If the source document is updated and a new version is created, the link icon indicates a newer version exists. The inserted variable Studio can then be updated to reflect the new version by clicking on the link icon. Let's change the table height and create a new version. When we switch back to the chair document, we can see that the link icon indicates a newer version exists. When we update the link to the variable Studio, the changes to the variable values propagate to the chair document as well. Variable Studios bring powerful global variable functionality to Onshape and allow for finer control over variable definition.